In the heart-wrenching chaos that Hurricane Katrina unleashed upon the Gulf Coast, the role of a 911 operator transformed into a lifeline for those trapped in the maelstrom. Amidst the inundation of distress calls, one stood out, an urgent plea for help from a woman stranded in the submerged city of New Orleans. The caller, trapped in her house on Gordon Street between Florida and Law, sought refuge from the rising waters that had turned her dwelling into a precarious sanctuary. As the operator scrambled to comprehend the situation, the stark realization hit. This was not Mobile, Alabama. This was a desperate cry for aid from the submerged streets of New Orleans. Efforts to connect with the overwhelmed emergency services in New Orleans proved futile, leaving the operator as the last link between hope and despair. The caller's panic-filled voice painted a vivid picture of her dire circumstances. Water crept into the attic where she sought refuge, transforming her last sanctuary into a potential watery grave. In a race against time, the operator guided her through a desperate attempt at escape. "Find something heavy," he urged, "break the attic vent, and get onto the roof." Yet the dimensions of the vent proved a cruel barrier, denying her the means of reaching safety. A crescendo of emotion played out over the phone, a symphony of fear, prayer, and raw desperation. The operator, bound by duty and empathy, offered a lifeline in the form of a calming presence through the unseen connection. As the water relentlessly advanced, the sounds of struggle and despair echoed through the line. The operator, tethered to a voice now submerged in the chaos, bore witness to a tragedy unfolding in real time. And then, an abrupt silence, a disconnection that left an agonizing void. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, haunted by the uncertainty of that call, the operator faced a profound dilemma. The indeterminate fate of the woman on Gordon Street lingered, an indelible mark on the soul of a dispatcher who had, in that moment, become a lifeline to someone's last hope. The year was 1979, the setting, the tumultuous landscape of New York City. As a 911 operator, I found myself on the front lines of the city's chaos, navigating a world gripped by crime and haunted by the limitations of technology. One fateful night, a distress call pierced through the monotony of the emergency dispatch center, a young voice quivering with fear. A little boy, caught in the crossfire of a domestic war, spilled out a heart-wrenching tale of his parents locked in a violent struggle. The cacophony of chaos painted a grim picture: shattered glass, breaking furniture, a woman's desperate screams, and a man's thunderous roars. Yet, the child, a helpless spectator to the adult world unraveling around him, lacked a crucial detail: the address. In an era devoid of caller ID technology, the arduous task of tracing the call relied on manual methods, a race against time when every second weighed heavily on the scales of life and death. As I juggled the desperate plea of the child and the labyrinthine process of locating the distressed household, the atmosphere in the room grew tense. The haunting symphony of the ongoing tragedy filtered through the headset, a grim reminder of the city's relentless underbelly. In the absence of instant communication aids, the minutes ticked away, and the unfolding drama took a tragic turn. A scream, a shattering of glass, and the abrupt silence that followed. The woman, a casualty of domestic warfare, now lay lifeless in the courtyard, an emblem of the grim reality that unfolded in the shadows of the city. What lingered in the aftermath was a profound sense of helplessness. The tragedy had unfolded within the confined walls of an apartment building, echoing through the corridors, yet the bystanders remained silent until the final fatal act. The experience encapsulated the harsh reality of working in the emergency services during the tumultuous years of 1970s and 1980s New York City, a city grappling with a soaring crime rate and shackled by the constraints of primitive technology. For those who bore witness to the cries for help, the echoes of that night lingered as a haunting reminder of a time when every call carried the weight of the city's struggles. In the heart of the 911 Center, where every ring holds the potential for a life-altering moment, There exists a tapestry of stories. Some fade into the background, while others etch themselves into the very soul. For me, one call transcends the regular ebb and flow, a haunting symphony of tragedy that lingers in the corridors of my memory. It started with a frantic voice, a mother's desperation echoing through the telephone wires. Two toddler twin girls, unresponsive, their breath stolen by the cruel hands of circumstance. My role as a dispatcher thrust me into the epicenter of this unfolding nightmare, a harrowing dance with destiny where every second counted. The mother, a vessel of panic, painted a grim tableau, a household that had succumbed to an early morning slumber. In the silence of those pre-dawn hours, the twins awoke, innocent wanderers in a world still cocooned in sleep. An unsuspecting older sibling, an 8-year-old, led them to the bed, an unintended trap that became the stage for an unspeakable tragedy. As the story unfolded, a chill gripped the room. The twins, tiny beings brimming with life, had succumbed to the silent menace of asphyxiation beneath a blanket. The tendrils of helplessness wrapped around me as I guided the mother through those excruciating moments until the cavalry of paramedics and officers could breach the veil of despair. Yet the narrative took an even darker turn. When help arrived, they were met not only with the lifeless forms of the toddlers, but with a macabre scene. The mother, in a desperate act to cling to a semblance of normalcy, had changed their clothes and anointed their tiny bodies with baby oil, a grotesque attempt to defy the clutches of mortality. In a world governed by protocols and procedures, the cruel reality emerged. No criminal charges were filed, a legal realm often devoid of the emotional echoes that reverberate through the dispatcher's soul. The tapestry of stories in a 911 center spans the gamut of human experience: robberies, suicides, and violence. Yet it is the ones where the vulnerability of children is laid bare that sear into the collective memory of those who bear witness. As I recount this tale, a reminder lingers, a reminder of the weight that dispatchers carry, the silent burden of stories that transcend the boundaries of duty. Amidst the darkness, there remains an unwavering commitment to ushering slivers of hope into the bleakest moments, even when the echoes of tragedy refuse to dissipate. In the heart of the emergency dispatch center, where the hum of fluorescent lights echoed the pulse of a city on edge, I found myself entangled in the delicate dance of life and crisis. The non-emergency line, usually a conduit for the mundane, unexpectedly unfurled tales that transcended the ordinary. A sweltering summer day saw the arrival of a call steeped in neighborhood discord. An elderly man, irked by the innocent symphony of minority children at play, wielded the thread of his shotgun like a misguided gavel, ready to dispense his version of order. In the ordinary tapestry of suburban life, the strains of everyday existence clashed with the harsh realities of prejudice. Amidst routine complaints, a woman's voice wavered with uncertainty. In her driveway lay a prone figure, a tableau of vulnerability. The decision rested in the crucible of her moral quandary. Should she avert her gaze, letting indifference reign, or extend the lifeline of an ambulance? In a cascade of dispatch protocols, the choice was made, a plea for help echoing through the ether. Yet, it was a call that carried the weight of intimate tragedy that resonated most deeply. An elderly grandmother, her time-worn voice etching the airwaves, bore witness to a calamity unfurling in her backyard. Her grandson and husband, innocently kindling flames to dispose of refuse, were met with an explosion that shattered the ordinary rhythm of their existence. First responders, like modern-day knights, arrived at the scene to confront a tableau that defied the boundaries of human resilience. The husband, his skin transformed into a grotesque semblance of melted plastic, clung to life amid the tendrils of agony. A futile attempt to render aid exposed the raw intricacies of organs, the fragility of life laid bare. In the periphery of this tragedy stood an 8 to 9-year-old grandson, an unwitting spectator to the fragility of mortality. The unfolding calamity became a cruel rite of passage, etching indelible marks on the canvas of his innocence. In the realm of emergency dispatch, where stories converged with the tapestry of human suffering, It was the weight of such narratives that lingered, a poignant reminder of the fragility that binds us all.